Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. I hope you have or had a pretty good day today. Today is March 27th, 2025. Cracking just a little over 2:15. It's 2:20 as of this recording, so we will see how this goes. Let's all start off by saying my name is Peyton Whitaker. I am majoring in business management, but I am doing just my 2 years associates because I do not want to talk about Abe Lincoln almost learning how to drive a train, but just having to write about 20 pages of that. So I'm not really that interested into that kind of writing and essays and all that good stuff. So I'm gonna be mostly talking about sports and lifestyle, but for the most part, today is a pretty good day to be talking about sports and starting a podcast. So we will get straight into it. Today is just an introduction, so it's not going to be too fancy. It's just me putting out something and just seeing how reaction or how stuff just ends up going. So let's go ahead and start off with the MLB opening day schedule. That is one of the main reasons I started today was because of the opening day and the March Madness also taking place for the Sweet 16. So let's go ahead and get into it. Our first matchup for leading off the MLB opening day is going to be the New York Yankees versus the Milwaukee Brewers. And I kind of have a little favorite team of who I want to win because I am I am wearing their nice, very authentic Fanatics 101 gear. If anyone wants to, you can, just DM Fanatics 101 and tell them about me. I could possibly get a sponsorship. So if you would do that, you would be helping me and yourself. Then I might give you maybe $1 and some fruit snacks. Welch's fruit snacks. Also not sponsored, but if you want to do that, you can also DM them too so we can get more fruit snacks and some more dollars in there for you. Anyways, so yes, Milwaukee Brewers versus the New York Yankees, with the Yankees hosting that game. We have the Yankees winning because I have a high belief that the Yankees are going to win because I have Yankees sweatpants on, Yankees shirt, Yankees sweatshirt, and a Yankees hat on. So I think that kind of tells you that I'm a little fan of the Yankees. So that's tonight's big winner chicken dinner. Then we have Baltimore versus Toronto. Not really going to cover much about them because I don't know much about other teams, but yeah, Baltimore versus Toronto. Toronto at home at 3:07, so that's coming up soon as a second game for opening day. Then 4:05, 4:10. Those are just the later games that I think it looks like it's about four four games are starting. No. I'm sorry. Just two games starting at 4:05 at the same time. Philadelphia Phillies versus Washington Nationals. They say Philadelphia is supposed to win this because Philadelphia is supposed to be ranked as the top three, top five in winning record. So that should be a good way to start out for Philadelphia. And for Boston Red Sox versus Texas Rangers, also 4:05. That's a Texas Rangers game because I cannot do with Boston because Boston and New York Yankees have one of the biggest beef in the MLB. So that's a Yankee. I'm gonna just go Toronto. Home team obviously always has the advantage going into the end of the game. So that's a Yankee versus Toronto, Philadelphia, Texas Rangers. Those are the first four wins, I think. Atlanta versus San Diego Padres. That should be an Atlanta win, winning against the San Diego Padres because Atlanta is actually known to have the second best record in the whole MLB, and I guess that today will be a good way to start off their season. We have the Pittsburgh Pirates against the Miami. I'm just gonna go ahead and call them Swordfish. Miami Swordfish. I'll remember their name one day, but yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and take the Swordfish because Swordfish are pretty interesting. We have Cleveland versus Kansas City following up at 4:10 with I don't think Kansas City has been too good as the last couple of years. I think since they won the championship in like 2018 or so. Yeah, it's been quite some time since Kansas City has been pretty good enough to be making the World Series and making much progress. Cleveland also on the same page. No playoffs or championships. Well, mostly championships in the recent years. So I'm just gonna go ahead and go with Kansas City, LA Angels versus Chicago White Sox 4:10 game. I'm just gonna go with the White Sox because I feel sorry for him, but got a home game opening day, so that has to at least be a win for the fans. So then we have still 4:10 San Francisco versus Cincinnati Reds. Cincinnati Reds just seems like a boring name, so I'm going with San Francisco winning that game. The final 4:10 Eastern Standard Time game is the New York Mets versus the Houston Astros. Now, to choose the team, it's an obvious. It's going to be the Houston Astros, the the trash bangers, because they're just look up 2017 Yankees versus Astros. I believe it's Game 7. So that kind of tells you a good reason of why I called them the trash bangers, but it's mostly also because the Mets, I know some people that like the Mets, and I'm just going to say it's opposite day for you, so it sucks to be you. Go Astros. Then we have the Minnesota Twins going up against St. Louis, 4:15 game. Big fancy. Give a little 5-minute break between 4:10 and 4:15. That's props to MLB for coming up with that schedule. And finally, for the last MLB opening day game, we have the Dodgers versus Detroit Lions or Tigers and Bears. Oh my! With with this game, it's 7:10 for no reason. I mean, there's nothing going on other than them just starting the kickoff of basketball. That made no sense for me whenever I looked at it, but it's whatever. So we have Dodgers already a winning record of 2-0 because they played last week in Tokyo. I'm sorry. Yeah, so that was not teriyaki, a Tokyo game. So they are currently 2-0. Every other team other than the Chicago Cubs, it was Dodgers versus the Cubs in Tokyo. So that's a already good step for the Dodgers. So they're also hosting this game versus the Lions. So we'll just go with the Dodgers. Give them that game. Now we are transferring over to the March Madness. Madness, crazy. Just nothing has happened. Literally this whole tournament. I think maybe a few upsets, but just nothing. Auburn versus Alabama State. It was an obvious game right there. Creighton versus Louisville. That was a little in quotes upset with it 9-8, but nothing too fancy. Michigan over San Diego. Texas A&M over Yale. Ole Miss over North Carolina. That was a surprise for me, honestly, because I thought North Carolina would pull it out, but Ole Miss pulled through and got that game. See, Iowa State versus Lipscomb, New Mexico, a little upset over Marquette, but it's there are two schools that are kind of similar with each other, so that's a toss up. It's also like a just 5 versus 6 to eat, or just right in the middle of the whole playoff. And so yes, we have Michigan State, a win right there. Florida over Norfolk State. UConn over Oklahoma. Got right back on track. Colorado State, the first actual upset, but I believe people actually knew that this was going to be an upset in quotes because Colorado State, I don't know much about them, but I knew for a fact that they would just take over Memphis, and they did 8-point win, but they made it to around the 32, so that's props for them. Let's see, Maryland took care of Grand Canyon. Drake, another upset over Missouri. That's kind of upset I kind of see, but that I actually put on my bracket, so I made some progress right there. Texas Tech, Wilmington, Kansas, oh, losing to Arkansas. Arkansas, I was actually surprised. I didn't know much about Kansas's basketball, but higher seeds most of the time wins it. And finally, we had St. John's in the final for the West. In the East, Duke, St. Mary's, no talk. Baylor over Mississippi State, which was a close game. It looked like final possession or so, but Baylor came out with that number 9 win. It's another close seeding win, so you can't really say that's a big upset. Oregon over Liberty, Arizona over Akron, BYU over VCU, Wisconsin, Montana, St. Mary, Vanderbilt, Alabama, Robert Morris, Houston over SIU, SIU Edwardsville. Shout out to them, I guess. Gonzaga, over Georgia, McNeese. That's a big one. That was a big one, actually. I think, like everyone else, I think it ruined over a couple million uh, brackets because that was honestly a bracket buster for a lot of people. Over 24 million people I saw had submitted brackets on ESPN, and I think they said after the Clemson McNeese game, they said that, oh God, I think it was like maybe 20%. 20% out of 24 million people still had perfect brackets. So that was that. Purdue over High Point. I watched High Point take on Winthrop in the championship game a couple weeks ago, so that was an interesting thing. But I was told that High Point was going to win anyways over Winthrop, so shout out to Winthrop, I guess. Illinois over Xavier, Kentucky over Troy, UCLA, Utah State, Tennessee over Wofford, thank God. But no surprise there also, because, I mean, it's Tennessee. Tennessee is one of the most successful basketball programs this year. Let's see, Tennessee over UCLA, obvious. Kentucky over Illinois, nothing much. Purdue over McNeese, no upset there, sadly. So, RIP to McNeese for some kind of Cinderella talk. Houston over Gonzaga, another successful team. Alabama over St. Mary, Wisconsin, and BYU. BYU somehow pulled it off. I think it was overtime. BYU was able to take advantage of the turnover I think I saw right there. Arizona over Oregon and Duke. Obviously, it's going to be Baylor. And let's go to the South. Auburn over Creighton. Obvious. Auburn, one of the best basketball. It seems like in the region, if you want to say, they're most likely going to get to the Elite Eight or Final Four with these games coming up. Auburn versus Michigan, with Michigan taking over Texas A&M. Ole Miss football, it's more of a football team, but they pulled out versus Iowa State. New Mexico lost to Michigan State. Michigan State is known to be also a football team, but apparently they're doing pretty good this year. Florida over UConn. That is a Florida. Florida also a football team school, so I mean that's that. Colorado State versus Maryland. Controversial. That is very controversial because Maryland, in the in quotes NCAA rules, they had traveled. Maryland had took the final shot and had traveled. Now, with being travel in other sports, like other leagues and stuff, you wouldn't call it a travel, but with it being college, NCAA, one of the top, um, like sports programs, there was a travel in NCAA rules. So it should have been it should have been Colorado State over Maryland, but either way, Florida, well, it's gonna roll over Colorado State if Colorado State somehow got that win. We have Drake losing to Texas Tech, Arkansas, St. John. St. John, I didn't really see it. I just had no knowledge of them. I mean, it just said that they were pretty good teams. So I just said, okay, you're St. John's. St. John, I had them in the final four, or yeah, I think final four of the championship game, but that was just a guess. So that kind of threw out everything. Now, tonight, the Sweet 16, big deal. It's a big deal. Auburn, Michigan, should be an Auburn game. Ole Miss versus Michigan State. Now, whenever it comes to these two, whenever it comes to the Ole Miss versus Michigan State game, I would be a little surprised with Michigan winning this, but if Michigan does win over Auburn, they're going to obviously go to the Elite Eight, but it's going to be a Michigan State versus Michigan game, which Michigan have really good rivalry in state, so that might be a game, but I see Michigan State winning it, so it's going to be that. Florida over Maryland, that's a Florida game. Texas Tech versus Arkansas. Now, if Arkansas can pull this off, I would be surprised. They could possibly pull off Florida, but Arkansas is a 10 seed, Florida's a 1 seed. Florida the other day, though, versus UConn, just were terrible in the first half, but I guess towards the end of the game, I heard that they just pulled out and started doing a little better than the first half. So there's that. I wouldn't be surprised if there was an upset versus Texas Tech, but that's how it is. And tomorrow, I believe, we have Houston versus Purdue. Houston's supposed to, I think they're going to win by like 10, 15 points. Houston and Texas versus Kentucky. That's a Tennessee game. Oh my goodness, I cannot believe I said Texas. Screw Texas. It's going to be Tennessee versus Kentucky. That's a Tennessee game going into the Elite Eight, playing against Houston. This is me calling shots. But with the Final Four versus with Houston versus Tennessee, it's going to be a Houston game. It's going to be Houston in the Final Four. It's going to be Houston and Duke going off against each other, and it should be possibly Auburn versus. Oh my goodness! Wow, I didn't think about that. Eesh. It would be Auburn. I'm gonna say against Florida because out of these four teams that are in the West, with Florida, Maryland, Texas Tech, and Arkansas, it's the closest thing I could see is just Florida, but look like it'd be Auburn going up against Florida in the Final Four, and Houston versus Duke in the Final Four. Now, with the Duke versus Houston, I honestly cannot tell you, but I think this is just a championship Duke team. Duke is just being, loved by everyone this season. And Auburn, I think it's up there, but Duke has just been the hype everywhere. They've been everywhere. They've won these two games, 32 and 64, by more than, looks like 23. 23 and a little over, I think maybe 50, a little over 50 points. No, sorry. with a 44-point win over St. Mary's. So hopefully this is not going to be a close game. I mean, hopefully it is, but it's really not seen to be a close game. But I think with that being said, though, I think I'll end it right there for the night. And I hope you come back next Thursday, take a listen. We'll talk again. And yeah, I hope you have a good rest of your night. Have a good one.